Have you ever been afraid to paint a model? Well, I have, but today I'm going to get over that fear. Hey, I'm Jay and welcome to Miniature Journey. Today, finally, I'm going to paint these guys. The Jackals. One-page rules Jackals. These are a beautiful, beautiful models and they've got so much detail. And what scared me about painting these is that level of detail. As you all know, following this channel, I'm new to this hobby, so painting something so detailed is a bit scary. But what I'm going to learn during this video is I shouldn't be afraid. I should give it a go. I would like to get some sort of fur texture on these guys. I would like to... I sort of want a variation. That's Leela hitting the camera. They do say don't work with animals. So if you don't know what One Page Rules is, it's a company that produces miniatures. Mainly they produce STL files and you can join their Patreon and then they release a new set every month that you get the STL files for and you can print your own, which is lovely. But if you haven't got a printer like me, can't afford a printer, there is an option where you can go on to onlygames.co and you can order these as miniatures, and they print them out and they send them to you, which is amazing. I love the fact that they give you that option. There's so many good miniatures online nowadays, but it does very much require you to have a 3D printer, and in this case it doesn't. Now, the Jackals are scavengers. They're tribal people, and spaceships have fallen to their planet, and that's how they've discovered space travel and things like that, which I love. This is almost like I've always sort of put off the 40k universe and the futuristic thing because it doesn't grip me as much as fantasy. These are almost like a crossover. They're less advanced, but they're still in the futuristic universe, so these seem right up my street. I did do a bit of research into fur colours for desert dogs and things like that. So you've got African wild dogs, you've got desert foxes, all sorts of different things. And I didn't want to limit myself to one fur type. So during this video, I'm going to try a few different ones. I've got a new brush with a very fine tip on it, which I'm going to try and get some individual strokes for the fur on. That's the plan. I don't have the most steady hand in the world, but I'm going to do my best. Let's see what happens. So as we said, these guys live on a desert planet. So I wanted a quite a warm feel, and I'm going to start with that feel with the base coat. So I use a mix of heavy sienna, scarlet blood and black to get this brownish colour. I do have a limited palette of paints, like very limited. So a lot of the colours like this one I have to make up as I go along. And I tried to vary it, so I think out of the, I'd had three different shades out for the 5 models, just so straight away we're getting a bit of variation in there. The next step is to start building up the fur. Now, the first 2 models I didn't have too much fur texture, but in between painting those and the other 3 models, I got a new brush which has got a very fine tip on it, and I've sort of learned to be very delicate, putting line after line after line, building it up. Basically using 4 colours. I used heavy brown, parasite brown, which I love. Parasite brown is one of my favourites, and bone white and black. And I wanted them to feel different, but still one unit. So using those 4 colours across the board still ties them all in together, and I've sort of painted the nose black with a black stripe up the forehead. Up the middle of the nose, up the forehead, and that ties them all together. So yes, we've got some very light looking fur tones, we've got some patchy fur tones, we've got some browny fur tones, but they all still feel like one unit. Now, it is a time consuming job painting almost painting the individual fur. I'm not, obviously, because the fur for the model of this size would be minute. But just getting that fur texture on there, it's definitely worth the effort. Once I was happy with the fur, it was time to decide what armour to do. And I sort of was a bit torn on this. A lot of the fur textures we've gone for are browns and dark oranges and sort of darker colours, so I wanted the armour to be a bit lighter. My initial thought was to go bright yellow, but I thought that might be a bit much. So what I ended up doing was base coating the armour in a basic black, grey. We just whipped it up with a mix of black and white, and then we topped that off with some glacier blue, which is lovely. It's really nice. It's like a white with a tint of blue. And I think it turned out really nicely. A bit of shading, some damage effects with some like nicks and scratches and things like that. And I was very happy with how it turned out. I'm extremely happy with how these things are turning out. I think I've got better as I've gone through the models. I got 5 of these to paint up. I've just dropped one. I've got 5 of these to paint up. And as I've gone along, I feel like I've got more delicate with the fur. It's very much, you have to be extremely delicate, very light, and get the lines in there. And I love the fact that I haven't stuck to one fur colour throughout the pack of Jackals. I was very tempted to get the green stuff out and put some rags on these Jackals. I feel like, I don't know, in my head I've got this image of desert creatures living on a desert planet with torn rags and things like that. Probably a bit Star Warsy, but I think it would have looked nice. But I did refrain because these models are beautifully made. There's just the right amount of detail on it. They haven't gone too far, they haven't gone too less. On its back in the backpack you've got almost like sleeping bags and little bottles strapped up and a spanner here and there, and it's just these little touches which make it feel a complete model. And that is where I was aiming to bring some colour in. So we move on to the straps, and my initial thought is go leather brown. Start with leather brown, but then all the fur and that's quite brown, so they sort of looked a bit lost. So that's where I added some pops of colour, and we just used some red, basically, some scarlet blood. Scarlet blood on the straps just to give that pop of colour, and then on the backpack we also introduced colour. I've introduced some oranges and some greens into it. I think it goes to show how much miniatures have changed since I started painting many years ago, because the miniatures I'm painting so far on this channel have been those miniatures, the miniatures my dad dropped off. And then I come to this miniature, and the detail from those to this is a million miles apart. At this point in the paint job, I thought I was nearing the end. But how wrong was I? There are so many pockets and details, and the backpack's got all this detail. And you've even got that little red loincloth that hangs over the tail, which I think is a lovely little touch. Specifically for these models, I bought this. This is a Dust and Dirt Deposit by AK. I saw this on Tabletop Time when they did their, because Jazz has got this, as you probably know, this obsession with streaking grime. And they put them all to the test to see which was the best. And Dust and Dirt Deposit caught my attention because it looked very sandy, very like they'd been out in the desert for a long time. And these dogs have. They really have. What terrifies me is I'm really happy with the paint jobs I've done on these. And am I going to ruin it with this? I feel like that's going to be another brave decision to make. Let me know in the comments below, do you think I should use this on them or not? I'm going to leave it up to you. There are so many straps and pockets and places to put things on the Jackals, which I really like, because the Jackals are scavengers, so if they find something out in the desert, they're going to want to take what they can. So having all these pockets and things is a brilliant idea. I presume it's a sleeping bag or some sort of blanket on the bottom of the backpack here. Again, if you're out scavenging, you're probably going to spend the night out away, things like that. I've started to use washes. Now, I'm probably not using washes in the correct way at all. But you'll see the bandages I just feel look a bit too clean and pristine, so we add a sepia wash just to dirty them up a bit. The same as the backpack, we add a bit of a sepia wash onto it, and when I come to do the gun, I use... Weapons are still my weak point, I feel. Well, weakest point, I feel. So I've used a metallic silver for it, and then I put a black wash over the top, filled in all the details, and then later on, off camera, I came along with a very pure white and just did some edge highlighting on the gun, and I think it turned out really nicely. And that brings us to the conclusion, which means only one thing: time for a grand reveal. And there we have it. One finished article. I'm so pleased with how these turned out. The fur colours and that, in my opinion, work really well. And a bit of wet blending to blend the black patches in the nose and the ears and into all the other fur works really well. And I like the fact... I'm going to make excuses. I like the fact that if you sort of go over a bit onto their leg bandages and stuff, it just looks like the fur is hanging over slightly, and that feels really, really natural. I'm really excited to paint some more of these. As I say, I've got a few more that I've ordered. We're definitely going to get those painted up. Let me know what you want to see in the next video. Do you want to see more of the Jackals, or do you want me to go back to the Lizardmen? Because I'm doing all sorts at the moment. Until next time, I'll see you again.